Welcome to The Deep Dive. Today we're jumping into a book you specifically wanted to explore. Dickens is A Tale of Two Cities. You were really interested in how these big historical shifts impact people, impact societies, and, well, this novel is just a fantastic way to look at that. Absolutely.
Right.
So we're going to pull out the main story threads and look at some of the really interesting dynamics Dickens weaves together.
Yeah, it throws us right in, doesn't it? 1775. And things are shaky, in both England and France.
Right.
There's this feeling, this undercurrent of trouble brewing, and we get it immediately with Jerry Cruncher showing up. And that really mysterious message for Jarvis Lorry, recalled to life.
Yeah. What an opening. It just sets this tone of mystery right away, like you said, hinting at some kind of resurrection, maybe literal, maybe figurative.
Exactly. And that message sends Lorry off to Dover, doesn't it?
It does. And that's where he meets Lucy Manette.
Ah, Lucy. Her story is quite something, believing she's an orphan her whole life.
Yeah, thinking her father, a doctor, was dead. And then this bombshell revelation.
Right. He's alive. After 18 years locked away in the Bastille in France.
Just imagine hearing that. Your whole world turned upside down.
It's a total shock to her system, you'd think. So Lorry, acting like this guardian figure.
Right, very steady.
He takes her to Paris, and they meet Defarge.
Defarge,
Yeah.
who used to work for Dr. Manette. Right?
Exactly, a former servant. And he's been looking after the doctor, who's basically been broken by prison.
It's quite a contrast, Defarge's sort of quiet care there.
It is. And seeing Dr. Manette for the first time, it's deeply unsettling.
You can see the toll those 18 years took. His mind seems fragmented.
And he's just constantly making shoes.
That image is so powerful. It's like this compulsive thing, right? Maybe his only way of coping, trying to create some order.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. It really shows the hidden damage of that kind of isolation and injustice.
But there is that little spark of hope. Lorry tells Lucy her love might be able to bring him back.
To recall him to life.
Yeah.
It's this faint light in all that darkness.
Okay, so let's jump ahead. 5 years later, 1780, the scene shifts back to England.
Right. And we meet Charles Darnay. He's on trial. Treason against England.
Big courtroom drama. And we get introduced to Stryver, the lawyer. Very bombastic character.
Oh, definitely knows how to fill a room. But it's his colleague, Sidney Carton, who seems almost indifferent.
Yeah, dissolute almost.
Who actually saves the day. Carton's intervention is the key thing here.
And how he does it is fascinating.
It really is. He points out how much he looks like Darnay.
Their physical resemblance is uncanny.
Exactly. And boom, suddenly we've got this theme of doubles mistaken identity. Dickens uses that so well later on.
Such a clever move. And Lucy and her father are actually at the trial.
Adds another layer of tension, doesn't it?
For sure. But after Darnay is acquitted, Carton's reaction is interesting.
Yeah, he's clearly struggling with something deep down. Even takes Darnay out for a drink. Almost seems to needle him about Lucy.
It really exposes this inner conflict. Like, he resents Darnay for having the life Carton feels he should have had or could have had.
I think that's spot on. Potential, love, connection. Especially with Lucy. It's this mix of jealousy and self-hatred almost.
Then boom, we're back in France, and the difference between the societies is just brutal.
Oh, absolutely. That scene with the Marquis Evermond.
Chilling. Running down a peasant child with his carriage.
And his reaction, or lack of reaction, just complete disregard. Contempt, even.
It's horrifying. It really sums up the aristocracy's attitude, doesn't it? A perfect little example of the bigger problem Dickens is showing us.
Definitely. It's not just one man's cruelty. It's the whole system. That kind of arrogance devaluing human life, it's exactly what fuels revolution.
And then Darnay shows up, the Marquis's nephew.
And his reaction is the complete opposite. He's horrified. He condemns his uncle, the whole system.
Yeah, he forcefully renounces his family name, the Evermond identity.
A huge moment for him. Saying he wants nothing to do with it, wants to live differently in England.
Breaking away from that corrupt past. But then, that very night...
Violence. The Marquis is murdered.
And the note left behind, signed, Jacques.
Yeah, a clear sign. The revolution isn't just simmering anymore, it's starting to boil over. Jacques becomes this symbol for the collective uprising.
Right, the oppressed finding their voice.
Exactly. And Dickens presents it maybe not as justified, but as inevitable, a direct result of all that cruelty.
So a year goes by, and the personal stories keep getting tangled up with these bigger historical forces.
Right. Darnay, he's fallen for Lucy. He asks Dr. Manette for her hand in marriage.
And he makes that promise, right, to tell the doctor his real identity before the wedding.
Which shows a lot of trust, considering the potential danger.
Definitely. And at the same time, Carton confesses his feelings to Lucy, too.
Ah, that's such a moving scene. He knows he thinks he's worthless.
Yeah, he's very aware of his own flaws.
But Lucy gives him this sort of glimmer of hope, a possibility of being better. It really picks up that redemption theme we mentioned.
It does. And we also see this darker side of London life with Jerry Cruncher.
Oh yeah, his secret life. Odd job man by day.
And Resurrection Man by night. Grave robbing.
It shines a light on the grim realities, the desperation of the time, and maybe the moral compromises people made. It adds another layer of darkness.
Meanwhile, back in Paris, the revolution is becoming more organized.
In a way. You see figures like John Barsad, the spy, sniffing around Defarge's wine shop.
Trying to get information.
And then there's Madame Defarge, just sitting there, knitting.
But it's not just knitting, is it?
Not at all. She's knitting a list, a hit list, essentially, stitching the names of enemies of the revolution into her work.
Chilling, so methodical. It shows the cold, calculated side of the coming violence.
Absolutely. It's not just chaos. There's a plan, a vengeful one.
Then, Darnay's wedding day. He keeps his promise to Dr. Manette, reveals he's an Evermond.
And the impact is immediate and devastating. Manette just collapses psychologically.
Back to the shoemaking.
That old trauma just rushes back. It shows how fragile his recovery really is. The past isn't really past.
It's such a visceral symbol, the shoemaking, like you said, trying to piece himself back together.
Yeah. But thankfully, he does recover again. He even joins them on their honeymoon. Shows the strength of that family bond, love helping him heal.
And then Carton shows up later, seeking out Darnay, asks to be friends.
That feels like a genuine shift in Carton, doesn't it? Reaching out, trying to connect.
Yeah, a step towards something different for him.
Trying to bridge that gap he feels between himself and, well, people like Darnay and Lucy. And then it happens.
The big historical moment, 1789.
The storming of the Bastille.
Yeah. All that pent-up anger, injustice.
Yeah.
Just explode. This is where the personal stories and history just crash together.
Totally. Individual lives are now completely caught up in this huge event. And someone connected to Darnay's past, Gabelle.
The guy who looked after the Evermond estate.
He gets thrown in prison by the revolutionaries.
And that's what pulls Darnay back.
Right. He feels he has to go back to France to help Gabelle, despite the incredible danger.
It's that sense of duty, isn't it? Maybe a bit naive given how volatile France is, but he feels responsible.
Definitely. And of course, the moment he arrives in Paris.
Arrested, straight away, as an emigrant aristocrat.
The revolution isn't making fine distinctions. Doesn't matter that he renounced his title. He's an Evermond to them.
Which kicks off this frantic effort to save him.
Lucy and Dr. Manette, they show incredible bravery going to Paris.
Absolutely, facing that danger head on for him.
And Darnay's in prison for, what, over a year?
Yeah, a long, harsh imprisonment. Then finally, the trial. And Dr. Manette steps up.
And amazingly, his past suffering in the Bastille actually gives him credibility with the revolutionaries.
It's such an ironic twist. The very thing that broke him now gives him this moral standing.
He's living proof of the old regime's cruelty. And it works. Darnay is acquitted.
But only for a moment.
Tragically short-lived, yes. He's arrested again, almost instantly.
Because the Defarges denounce him.
Exactly. It shows how personal grudges are now driving the revolutionary machine. Justice is becoming vengeance. Very unstable, very dangerous.
Terrifying how quickly it turns, and this is when Carton arrives back on the scene in Paris.
With a plan. A very risky, very selfless plan.
And he manages to coerce John Barsad into helping him.
Because he finds out Barsad's secret identity.
Right. Solomon Pross, Miss Pross's long-lost brother.
A classic Dickens twist. That connection gives Carton the leverage he desperately needs.
It's crucial. And then that final devastating trial scene, Defarge pulls out the letter.
The letter found in Dr. Manette's old cell in the Bastille. The one that explains everything.
And the story it tells. Just horrific.
Unspeakable, the Evermond brothers, Darnay's father and uncle, their crimes against that peasant family. Rape, murder.
And then imprisoning Dr. Manette just because he knew about it, tried to report it.
It connects Darnay directly to the worst sins of the aristocracy, even though he himself is innocent.
But in the eyes of the tribunal, that connection is enough.
He's condemned. Guilty by association, by bloodline, paying for the sins of his ancestors. That's the revolution's justice now.
And that same night, Carton overhears Madame Defarge
planning to kill Lucy and her child too, to wipe out the entire Evrémonde line.
And we finally understand her motivation, her fury.
She's the surviving sister of that family the Evrémondes destroyed. It's deeply personal vengeance for her.
Which makes Carton realize Lucy is still in mortal danger.
Exactly. And that forces his hand. He sets his plan in motion, arranges their escape.
Drugs, Darnay.
Switches clothes, switches places with him in the prison cell, leaves that letter explaining why. It's the absolute peak of his transformation.
Finding meaning by giving his life for others.
Precisely. And Brassard, under Carton's control now, carries the unconscious Darnay away to safety.
Meanwhile, back at the apartment, Miss Pross.
An amazing confrontation with Madame Defarge. Fierce loyalty versus relentless hatred.
And Miss Pross's loyalty wins. Madame Defarge is killed, ensuring Lucy can escape.
Miss Pross's devotion is just as powerful in its own way.
And then the final scene, Carton at the guillotine.
Walking towards it with this sense of calm, of purpose.
Thinking of the lives he saved.
Right.
The better world for Lucy and her family.
And that final line from the narrator about it being a far, far better thing he does. It ties back beautifully to being recalled to life, but in this profound spiritual sense.
Yeah. So wrapping this up, thinking about the key things to take away. A Tale of Two Cities really digs into social injustice, revolution, sacrifice, redemption, all through these interconnected lives caught between England and France during this incredibly turbulent time. You really see how big historical forces just shape individual destinies.
For me, I think Carton's journey is just so powerful, starting as this cynical, lost soul, and finding this capacity for incredible selflessness through his love for Lucy. It makes you think about the potential for change in anyone, really.
Absolutely. And maybe a final thought for listeners, considering how history can sometimes feel like it repeats itself or at least rhymes.
Does looking at the tensions, the inequalities, the anger in A Tale of Two Cities, does it spark any thoughts about parallels maybe with issues we see in the world today?
It's a great question to leave people with. It's a story from centuries ago, but it still feels incredibly relevant, doesn't it? Still holds up that mirror to us.
It really does. The complexities of people and society, they don't change all that much.